Hey guys, thanks for tuning in and happy holidays. Today we're going to be reviewing the 4K XIAOMI Mi drone. Congratulations to the winner that recently won the giveaway I just did of this awesome drone. I actually haven't even done a review on it yet. That's why we're doing it today. I have reviewed, if you remember previously a while ago, the lower end 1080p version, but this is the 4K version, and I've heard that they have mitigated and taken care of basically a lot of the shortcomings that the first generation Mi drone had. So I'm going to put that through the test today. This may be a long one, but I'm going to try to squeeze everything into one review, unbox, inspection, setup, and also the flight test and pros and cons. If not, I'll break it up into two parts where we just have the unbox, setup, and inspection on this video, and then we'll do a flight test and pros and cons in the next video. We'll see how far we get in this one. But stay tuned and let's get started with the 4K Mi drone review. Okay, so just jumping right in, nothing really special to look at in the box. It's just a cardboard box with a picture of the Mi drone on top. As you can see, this was shipped in the box it comes in, so it's got all these sticky tape and labels and stuff on there. So I'm just going to break right in and go ahead and just unbox it right away. Okay, so lifting open the cover, and the first thing we're greeted with is an instruction manual. So nicely done, like a little envelope. Then we have our first tier styrofoam, taking that off, and here we go, there it is. The Mi drone's tucked nicely, packed away in the top of the box. So I'm just going to take everything off first, out of the box, and then we'll go more in depth on each component. So as we can see, the Mi drone 4K has the gold accents. The 1080p version kind of has the reddish orange accents. A second tier of styrofoam. Let me zoom in here just a tad, and so you can see what else is in the box. So check it out. Here's the gimbal. Now this thing is awesome because XIAOMI actually has a kind of a modular system where you can twist this off and you can put this on a handheld gimbal and use this as a handheld gimbal too. So pretty cool. They're making it kind of like, remember the Inspire has that same capability where you can detach the gimbal for a handheld system. So we'll be checking out this too. Here's the controller. So pretty cool controller. Got those nice gold accents, and we'll be going over that in just a second. Looks like we've got one battery in the box here. Here is our power brick for charging. And here are some propellers. So it looks like we get two sets of propellers, and the cool thing about this XIAOMI drone is it has a new propeller locking system. So we'll be going over that in a second. So you can see they give us two sets, and there's the plug-in for the power brick for charging. Okay guys, so as you can see, there's quite a bit of stuff here to fit on the table, and the first thing I want to do is stand this drone up. So they gave it these kind of collapsing landing gear, just like the original version, and these guys just pull down. You don't have to click anything in, they just pull down and they click, and the only way you can pull them back up is if you push this little lever here, and then you can push them back up. So I just want to pull those down just for the time being, just to stand it up so it looks a little more manageable than laying down on the table. Really quick, we'll just tear open all these little packages here so you can see what you get. So there's our plug-in, a nice gray cable just to plug in for your wall. This is a US plug here, and coinciding with that is going to be the power brick. So really nicely done. They have kind of an Apple-esque type of look here, just like they did with the original Mi drone. There's a little better focus there. But you can see that it has this kind of charging module end here. And this thing you just basically pop off. It is pretty well protected with this plastic film here. So if we can figure out how to get off this plastic film, we will be able to take a look at this. I'm just going to see if I can pop it open without even taking the plastic film off. There we go. Okay. There. Kind of like how DJI does with their coatings as well in Apple. So once we take all that off, you can see it's pretty shiny, and there's the charging plug. So you can see it's just these two pins, and that's the way we're going to be charging the battery. So let's see how that looks. Here's the battery here in another package, and opening this guy up, and let's see what we get. So it's a fairly large battery. Here's the connection there. You can see that there's two pins there, and there's also two on the other side. So really you're only going to be plugging that charger into one side of these pins to charge it. And it doesn't matter which side you choose, as long as you're just plugging it in so those pins are making contact, just like that. And that's really all you have to do, and then plug this into your wall. But anyway, speaking of the battery, check it out. We have a nice gold accent. We push it once and we can see how much we're charged. Actually, it would probably go this way. And we can see that we're just about mid-charged here. And then just like the DJI, you go ahead and press again and hold to turn the drone on. Push lock system there. There's another grip on the bottom here, and let's see what size this battery is. So hopefully you guys can see that. It's basically a 5100 milliamp hour, 15.2 volt nominal voltage. So that would tell me that it is right up there in the 4S realm. I don't think they can make a 3S that high of voltage. So this would be like a 4S battery, maybe a little bit of a high voltage 4S if that's its mid voltage. Anyway, nice looking battery, looks very similar, just like the other XIAOMI drone. Now let's get these propellers out of the bags here and take a look at the differences between the old propellers and the new ones. So the old ones were just a screw-on. They just had a screw-on shaft, and this side was threaded, but check these out. These are completely different. They have a push locking mechanism, and not only do they push on, but they also lock here. You see how the whole top turns, so we're going to be pushing on and then turning this to lock. The top, you can see here that two of them have a gold top and two of them have kind of a grayish white top here, so kind of interesting. And that's going to tell us that two of these are clockwise and two are counterclockwise when we're putting them on, making sure that we're putting them on the right motors. And of course our other set right in the bag there, so that's great. They give us two sets in case we crash and bugger up some of our propellers. We have a whole extra set. Now the controller, real quick, bringing this into view here, very nicely done. We'll take these little guards off the antennas here. Now this controller kind of impressed me quite a bit on the first XIAOMI drone. It's got kind of these flat antennas. You see how they're partial kind of panel. So definitely the best signal is going to be reaching out if you're facing the drone and flying like this. So you want as perpendicular as you can get to the drone wherever you're flying it for the best signal. Anyway, check it out. So the accents on this one, all gold again. We have launch and land here. We have a power button on the top here. We have a return to home switch. So it's not really a button, but so you have to remember to flip that back when you're done returning to home. It's got a little lanyard notch here, and the sticks feel really nice. As you can see, they're both spring loaded. So that's going to be altitude hold there using its barometer, and also it has those under the quad sensors, which we're going to view in just a second. We have two trigger buttons here for pictures and videos, some nice grippy rubber here, and in the bottom this is where we're going to do our like updates and charging. So if we flip open this little compartment here, we can see we have quite a few things going on in here. We have a regular USB connection, and we have a micro USB connection. Anyway, looking at the top of the controller here, pulling this thing out and it just kind of snaps and clicks. You can see that we do have a spring-loaded cell phone holder. It looks like it might be able to hold maybe a 6-inch or 7-inch max. So it may hold like an iPad mini, but I don't think so. I think that's a little bit too small actually. So I think you might still be limited to cell phone, unless maybe you flip this up and you can use this indention in here as more room for your tablet. You see how you get more room there. But then it's going to be a little more difficult to pull this up. So you're a little bit limited there, but I think you should be able to slide a tablet in here as long as it's not bigger than like 7 or 8 inch. Anyway, that's to hold your phone or tablet. And then on the very top, we've got these roller guys here, and this is going to be for rolling and adjusting your exposure just like DJI does, and also for your gimbal. This one's spring loaded and this one is not spring loaded. This one just goes and stops wherever you put it, and this one springs back to its central position. Anyways, I think that's it for the controller, guys. Let's move on to the quad itself and mount up this gimbal and stuff. And since I got the propellers right here, let's just go ahead and put one of these on real quick and see how it works. And if you're wondering, how do I figure out which propeller goes where? You can tell that by these little dashes here. You see on this arm there's a gold dash, and on this arm there's a silver dash or gray dash. So since I have a gold top propeller here, I'm gonna put this right on the gold dash motor here. So if you look in here, you've got this little notch here. You're just going to line that notch up with the top of the motor, Let me bring that a little closer to the camera. You can see that we have this new motor design, this mount design up here, where it's just like a kind of like a hammer looking tab here. And it looks like the way we were mounting this is you would think that you turn this thing and you want to line up these outer sides with the inner side notch, but actually it's the other way around. You want to turn this so it's perpendicular to the outside, and then it will actually slide on top of this notch nice and easy. So then you just slide it on, you're going to feel it go all the way down. And then this one you turn clockwise and it notches in there and you can feel it kind of click and notch, and that thing's not coming off. Anyways, before I put all the propellers on, let's just go ahead and mount this gimbal up and see what the rest of the quad is all about. Okay, so here is the 4K camera and gimbal all in one. A really awesome design and a camera gimbal they have on this one. Now the 1080p version, I had a little bit of trouble with horizon wander, like when you would turn the quad, the actual gimbal would start turning sideways a little bit. And I'm really hoping that they have updated and fixed that in this one, but we're gonna find that out in the flight test. Micro SD card on the back here, and you also have a micro USB slot here plus a fan, and this is going to be for updating your gimbal if you wanted to. I'm hoping that now it can be done all through the Craft and the app, since this is all kind of linked into the Craft with data and everything through these connectors. Cool thing about this 3-axis gimbal is it's a modular design. So they have this little kind of post. I was hoping I'd get it in. I have ordered it, but it hasn't come in yet. It's a little handheld post, and you can actually take this bottom part of the gimbal off by just pushing in this button here and then turning this counterclockwise and pulling out. And you can see that those pins release, and you actually have, you get rid of this dampening and gimbal board here, and you have the entire gimbal separate that you can put on this stick and use as a handheld gimbal for going around and doing your on-ground videography and photography. So a really cool feature. I know a lot of drone manufacturers are going that route, and I'm glad that Mi has also taken the stride in doing that. Anyways, putting back on, very simple. There's these two tabs, and it can kind of only go on one way. So you just line everything up, push it on, and you want to push down first, and then you're going to feel it kind of go in there and then go clockwise, and you're going to feel that button kind of pop out and everything snaps and clicks in. So this guy is ready to mount to the drone. So in mounting, of course, we want to make sure that the gimbal and the drone is facing towards the front. And I'm going to set that down for a second. This guy has this little door here. So you push this little release mechanism there, and this little door pops off, so you're definitely going to want to store this in a safe place. And here's the way this works. So mounting up your 4K gimbal camera is you push in the top first. There's a little notch, and it kind of goes into a little ledge there. Putting in the front, making sure that's seated good, and then just pushing in the back until you hear that click, and you actually see this guy click over. And that thing is in there, it's all connected. All right, so now that we went over everything else, let's just go a little bit more in depth into the Mi 4K drone here. They give us a little bit of nice film here on the front. Looks like a shiny portion, just like the original 1080p version. Spinning it around, everything looks pretty much exactly the same except for the propeller mounting differences now, and also the gold accents are different. But otherwise, everything looks exactly the same. Even the bottom here, this is the ground sensing module. So you have an optical flow camera to sense the ground for indoor flight or even more stable outside flight when it gets a little closer to the ground. And then this is going to give us our sonic ground sensing. There's two little sonic sensors here, and I think all these three can pretty much detect the ground within about 40 feet of height. So if you go over that, it's just going to start using the barometer on board. But these are mainly just for landing purposes and making sure you have safe landings. But you can see that we've got venting here, really nicely done, this gold mesh with this venting in pretty much the whole drone. You see all this gold mesh venting, so looks like it's going to have a lot of cooling. Some more down here on the bottom. Really nicely done. If there was a drone that really looked comparable to something like, you know, the Phantom 3, I would say that this is definitely up there in as far as looks go. And we're definitely going to be testing the performance as well and see how it compares to the Phantom 3. I have done reviews on all the Phantoms, so I'm hoping this one is comparable, if not better, than the Phantom 3, because this is 4K. Anyway, spinning it around to the back, I think this is the only part we haven't really seen. Let's look inside for a second, and there's where the battery is going to connect. There's the pins on both sides, and that's the battery bay. That's what it looks like, nothing special. So the way this guy's working is actually the push button is going to be on the bottom and just the grips on the top. So that's the only way it can kind of slide in. Or just sliding it in there and pushing it. So we hear a click. Make sure that thing's in there, not going to fall out. So let me charge everything up, guys, and get my cell phone connected to the controller here. And let's go through a little bit of the on-screen display and setup and see how that all works and if it's different than the original Mi drone. Okay, guys, so I realized that this should have about a half charge in the controller and the drone. So I'm actually not going to charge it up just yet. We'll definitely charge it up before we fly. So what you need to do is download the Mi drone app. And that's going to be in the Android or Apple App Store. Just type in Mi drone and you should get something that looks like that pop up. So go ahead and install that. And before we run that, what we need to do is power up the drone and the controller. Pushing in once so the lights come on, and pushing and holding. And you're hearing some beeping here. And there goes the gimbal. It looks like that's it. I didn't see really any gimbal rotation except it kind of centering itself. Oh, there it goes. Okay, now it's going up and down, back and forth, trying to find its level. I'm hearing a fan kind of go on the drone itself. And probably what I should have done was powered on the controller. So I'm going to go ahead and power this on now, hopefully. You should power this on first, but we'll just go ahead and do it now. So clicking and then clicking and holding until we hear a beep. And let's power up this app. Now I have not connected this one yet, so this will be a good little connection with you guys just to go through everything and see how it all does. I'm looking for the Mi application that I just downloaded. There it is. Click on it here. Let's see what happens. If I'm not mistaken, this one requires actually an account. So let's see if it remembers my account from my first 1080p version Mi drone. So I'm going to press login here. And it looks like it's accessing the internet. Okay, so here we go. So either you sign in or you sign up. So I'm going to go ahead and sign in here and see if I can do this and get back with you guys. And there we go. So there's my Mi drone account. Give this app the following permissions. Let's see, I'm going to scroll up here. Okay, sign in. And let's see what happens here. So, beginner guide, it looks like for flight safety, please read below. Okay, so beginner mode, it's showing us that we have a kind of a geo fence here, so we can't go out of 100 meters linearly and 50 meters high. Okay, and then it's just cycling through safety and precautions. Let's go next. Learn about the aircraft. It's telling us where the head and the tail is. Just all the basic stuff you need to know about a drone. So if this is your first drone, definitely take the time and read all this stuff. It tells you what the sticks do, what the right stick does and the left stick, how to start the drone, both sticks down and in. Auto landing, that button on the controller there that we talked about right here for auto landing. And complete. Okay, great. Please connect Mi drone, connect product and accessories, turn on RC, turn on the aircraft. So what I should have done was turned on the controller first and then the aircraft, so I didn't do that right. So just keep that in mind. And connect the RC and phone with USB or Wi-Fi. So I'm going to go straight to USB. I didn't see a USB in the package, USB cable. So I'm going to grab one and see if I can connect it to my phone here. Okay, and guess what? I totally spaced that out. There was actually, these were in the box. I just didn't see them because they were white and they were down in the foam there. So be sure to double check your box and make sure that you find these guys. Now this is like a wireless module. So you're gonna plug this in. If you wanna go wireless from the controller to the phone, you plug this in the bottom and that'll give you the wireless connection to your phone. But I want a hardwire, and the only cable they give us in the package is a micro USB cable, and my phone has the micro USB C type. I think this is the B or A type, B type. So that's not going to work with my cell phone. So I went ahead and got another shorter cable that has the USB-C type. You see how it's just kind of an oval type. This is the newer type of cable out. So what I want to do is plug this into the bottom of my phone here. I'm going to plug this directly into here. There we go. Okay, so we're going to go next. And I want to choose USB connection. There's a little bit of instructions on what to do here. And it looks like we need to do USB tethering. So you can click on Wi-Fi connect or USB connect, little tabs up top here, and it gives you instructions on just exactly how to do that. It looks like if you're doing Wi-Fi connect, it's going to go into your wireless LAN settings, and it tells you what the name and the default password is. And if you're going to go USB connect, it tells you to go into USB tethering in the phone setting and connect successfully as shown below. So we want to make sure we do that. Okay, so per the instructions, I went into my USB tethering right here. Tethering in my phone settings. Now these are directly in my phone. And it says I want to turn on USB tethering. So please wait while we verify your account. Don't ask again. Okay. Okay, so it just goes through some information. I'm hoping this is going to work. So let's back out of here. But keep in mind, my cell phone is connected to my Wi-Fi, so when you're out in the field, you want to make sure you have data, apparently. Important update, 32 megabytes, 4K camera optimized, 4K gimbal, fixed gimbal calibration, bug, VPU optimized communication with flight controller. There's a bunch of updates here, so wow. Look at this. So go ahead and make sure you do that. So I'm going to press download here. Okay, firmware downloading. So you see how we're having a percentage. So I'm going to wait till this is downloaded, and then I'll pop back in and go over the installation with you. Okay guys, so that took a couple of minutes. Here we are back on screen, and we're at 98%. Let's see what happens when it finishes. Cannot update, no TF card detected. Okay. So it looks like what this means is I have to put in a micro SD card into the gimbal here. So I need to get one and put that in first. Too bad they didn't tell us that before we started doing that. Go ahead and make sure that you shut everything down. So I'm going to need to shut down the Me and then put this in and start over again. And I'll skip to that part where we left off. Okay guys, so it looks like that's the way to go. So just make sure every time you're starting up in your phone settings, you go into USB tethering in order to have this connection be working, at least in this LG G6 phone with the latest Android. That's how it's working for me. Maybe different from you. And then when I went back into, the updating, since I have that micro SD card now in the camera, everything is updating smoothly. It had already downloaded the update as you saw before, and now it is successful in attempting to run all those updates and actually have them engaged into the drone. So this looks like it's going to take a little while, so I'm going to pull away and come back when it's just about 90-something% so we can see what happens next. Okay guys, it just finished. That took probably around 20 minutes to a half hour to actually install all those updates. And just to let you know, this thing will reboot several times. The gimbal will move around several times after it reboots. And then the controller goes into a reboot and update. So multiple updates going on here, and it takes quite a bit of time. So really, you probably should be recharging your battery all the way right when you get it before you do this, because give yourself like an hour's worth of time to set this thing up and run through all the updates. And it kind of forces you to do these updates, so that's actually a good thing, just so you have the best experience. So what I want to do actually is reboot everything and boot it all back up. That's usually what you want to do with DJI drones as well. So let's boot it all back up and just see how the user interface looks. Okay, checking connection. Once it starts going fast like that, you know that it's actually connected and you're good to go. Now let's see what it does. Since all the updates Let's see, status and error, real-time monitoring the aircraft condition. You can see all the problems here. Okay. So that's if you do have an error, it's going to be up top. Okay, so now it's going through just a little legend. It's kind of hard to see the HUD here, but as I'm touching the screen, it's moving to the next one. GPS. We have our RC signal graphic there on the bottom. We have my position there, button. Shortcuts for more interesting shortcuts here. It looks like waypoint navigation possibly. There's your settings over here on the left. Camera view to map view. And there we go. So there's our map. Actually, my battery's 43%. So if they gave me 50% when they shipped it, it only dropped down about 7%. So that's actually pretty good for all that update we were doing. It was pretty efficient. But anyway, let's just go through this HUD before we fly it. So we've got all the telemetry here on the bottom. Starting from the left, we have horizontal speed. That's how fast it is going horizontally. Vertical speed, how fast it's going up and down. RC signal is strong. Graph, strong, I guess that's the graphic signal. That would be like our video signal. And then on the very right here, we have our exposure value is 0. So that's all the stuff they're giving us there. We have 0 here. And let's try to go into some of these other menus. So this should be similar to the first Mi 1080p drone. Let's go here. So this brings us into all of our options. We got firmware update, the compass. That's what we're going to run when we're over in the park in our flight test, which will be in the next video. So don't miss that, guys. We got beginner mode. We can turn that off and on. When you're in beginner mode, it looks like all these things down here are grayed out. So if we uncheck this and take that off, you can see how we have all these things come back into play here. And we can do all these calibrations, stick mode, Wi-Fi settings, RC pairing. We got battery info. Wow, so they've got quite a bit of information here. Satellite map off and on. Enable coordinate correction. Flight record, flight log, feedback, check for update. Let's try check update real quick. Checking updates. Let's see what it says. This is the latest version. Okay, so all of our updates were successful. So that's great. I'm going to press back here. And we're back into our main HUD. So if I press on my connection here, my location, we can see that it kind of does know where my house is. So that's good, where I'm located. And this does actually look like it's my subdivision. So that's great. Everything looks like it's working great. And this was the problem with when the 1080 version first came out, the first Mi drone, the map was all screwed up. So it looks like they fixed all that. Let's go into our waypoint settings. So we have all these. We have to take off first, it looks like, to have all these lit up. But we have land, RTH, orbit flight, drone flight, waypoint flight. So it looks like they've improved this quite a bit, guys. So this is going to be really fun for the flight test. Here's our camera. Let's go into camera here. 2 finger slides outward to show full screen. Okay. There we go. So there's my legs. Don't want to see that. Let's go over here to the Christmas tree. And there we go. So there's our real-time FPV. Let's just see kind of what the latency is real quick and the stability. So I'm going to go ahead and move the drone around and you're going to see how stable that is. So I'm yawing here. So pretty good stabilization. Up and down. Yeah, it's looking pretty good. And when we are in this screen, we can see that we're on video now. This is what we press to start and stop video. If we click on that, we go to photo. We can take some snapshots of our photos as long as we have an SD card in the camera like I just put in a little while ago. Up on the top left of the screen, we have our altitude here. This is our distance from home, it looks like, from our launch point. And then, of course, we have all those values we just described. Battery there, time since taken off. So I think that pretty much goes through everything, guys. The whole setup, updating, unboxing, everything you could possibly think of on this thing. Just really make sure that if you're using this, and I'd recommend using this cable to make sure you go into your USB tethering and make sure that's set up correctly. Otherwise, you're going to have a problem connecting this cable. If you did have a frustrating time with that, Don't forget that they do have this, you plug in, it's going to put out that wireless signal, and then you can just lock onto it wirelessly. But there's always a little bit of extra lag when you go wireless between the controller and the phone. So if at all possible, use a cable like this. Anyway guys, I think that's going to wrap it up for the unboxing, inspection, setup, and updating of the new Mi 4K drone. I think I'm going to split this up into 2 videos. Since this one went quite long and there was quite a bit of stuff in this video, I'm going to make a part 2 very soon, and we're going to do a full-on flight test and a pros and cons. Anyways, if you're interested in the Mi 4K, don't forget to subscribe, and also check the link in the description down below for where you can buy this and the current pricing. And I will see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching, and happy holidays.